Hi, this is Dr. Toby, your host on Health and Wellness with Dr. Toby, inviting you to watch our show coming up with Dr. Noel Gardner. She's a professor at the Heinz College in Jackson, Mississippi. She's the head of department for chemistry at the Utica campus. She got her PhD from Jackson State University and her undergrad in the chemistry field from Fort Valley University. She's a proud HBCU, married for 10 years, a Christian, spirit-filled, tongue talking, and she wants to share with us how to crack chemistry. Some of you are paranoid, some of you are petrified, some of you are perplexed when you hear the word chemistry. She's going to break it down and show you you can achieve your dreams. You don't have to be left in the lurch and try to dodge the bullet. No, chemistry can be your best subject. Listen to her. I'm sure you'll have a change in mind, and it can set you up for the rest of your life. Looking forward to you joining us on our show, Health and Wellness with Dr. Toby, on this station. Looking forward to hearing from Dr. Noel Gardner. God bless you. Jesus is Lord. Amen. Hi, this is Dr. Toby here, your host on Health and Wellness. What a pleasure to have you on our show today. Don't touch that dial. We have a special guest on our show today. I've called this show called Cracking Chemistry. And the reason why I'm saying Cracking Chemistry is because Dr. Noel Gardner is my guest on the show today. She's a PhD in chemistry, and she's also the head of department for the Utica campus of the Heinz Heinz College in Mississippi. She's PhD from Jackson State University and her bachelor's from Fort Valley in Georgia. And she's going to be sharing with us some of the things about chemistry that I think will motivate some of you to even understand medicine. You know, like this show says, we're here to health and wellness, anything that encourages you to stay healthy. One of the biggest indices of health, Dr. Gardner have found, is that when you have somebody in your family who has a science background or a medical background, it helps to break the ice, it helps to open up discussion, it helps to divulge topics, kind of demystify things. So a lot of our African American and Caucasian, I know a lot of our viewers are Christians, are worried about the chemistry, the myth called chemistry. That's why I call this today Cracking Chemistry. So it's a delight and a joy to honor and welcome Dr. Noel Gardner on our show. You're welcome, ma'am.
Well,
Thank you so much for coming. Real pleasure.
Me. Thank you.
So tell us, what's this thing about chemistry and the fear of chemistry, and what's all this paranoia students have? They don't have it for biology, they don't have it for English, they don't have it for economics, but chemistry tends to put goosebumps and chills and fear in people.
It does. What I found is a lot of the students that I have dealt with over the years, they have either had a bad experience, they have never seen chemistry before, they may have never even taken the course before. So it really depends on their experience prior. Some people, they just may have never, for example, in Mississippi we have a big shortage in the science, all teachers, just in general. So some students never get a chance to even step into a chemistry class. And then when they go to college, it's a fear that they may have because they've never seen this before. They've never, ever seen it. So you've seen English before, you've seen math, you've seen geography, you've seen different things before, but chemistry, if you never had a teacher, if you've never been to that class, you never seen it. So it's more so a fear of the unknown, I believe.
Because it's kind of invisible, is that what?
In a sense,
okay.
Yes. And it's a lot of conceptual knowledge. Biology is, a lot of students, they memorize things. But chemistry is not one of those types of subjects. It's a conceptual subject.
So if I remember my chemistry correctly, I know we had, as a medical student, I had organic chemistry.
Yes, it's one of my favorites.
And then there's physical.
You have physical chemistry, yes. You also have
what's
that
the
one.
difference, just to give my viewers an idea of what we're talking about here?
Well, I normally start with just general chemistry.
Okay.
And general chemistry gives you kind of an overview of all the different types of chemistries you may have. And even now they have what's called the introductory chemistry class. So it kind of like scratches the surface. So if you're not really sure if you desire to go into chemistry, You have the introductory class to kind of help you. But general and physical are on two totally different scales. You have organic, you have inorganic, you have physical chemistry. I also taken physical chemistry. Physical chemistry is more math based. It's a lot of thinking of outside of the box, the particle in the box type of
So it doesn't mean you can
equations.
physically feel it.
No,
Oh.
no, it's not. You can't
So
physically feel it.
chemistry, you can never really feel it.
No, you can't per
Okay.
se feel it, but you can go into the lab and mix chemicals together and see different reactions.
Because like
Yes.
biology, we can
Right, you can cut,
dissect
yeah,
that
you can just
frog and
dissect.
see that
Right, right.
liver, so we
Yes.
can appreciate
It's
it.
more so of a molecular level. So we're talking about things
Okay.
that happen on the molecular level. So chemistry is basically how atoms and molecules behave molecularly. Okay, so we're looking at a very, very small scale. So what we see right now in three dimensional or 2D, you can't see in chemistry. You can't see the particles going around in the air. So that's one major thing that students are having a hard time with, the faith of chemistry, in a
Okay.
sense.
Which is kind of like the COVID-19
Very,
epidemic.
very similar,
Very
yes.
invisible, but very real.
Very real,
and,
right.
A big concern right now.
Absolutely.
So, give us an idea. Give me a background, because I studied abroad, so my knowledge of the United States high school system is limited.
Okay.
When do students encounter chemistry? High school, junior,
Well,
elementary? When do they really get in contact with
it really depends on the school.
it? Okay.
So some schools you don't encounter it at all. You can make a decision whether you want to choose chemistry or not. And that's where the issue comes in. So I'm going to choose, if I was a student, oh, I'm not going to take that. Why would I take chemistry? No way. I'm going to take the stuff that I know about.
Like 7th grade? Is that when they make that decision?
No, you make that decision in high school.
Like 10th grade?
I would say ninth.
Ninth grade,
Yes,
okay,
ninth.
okay.
So you have different pathways you can go. So depending on your pathway, you may not have to ever take chemistry. And that's where, when they get to school, in college, they may say, oh, I want to be a doctor. And then all of a sudden now they have to take chemistry and they've never seen it before. So
Wow.
it's a problem. It's a big issue.
They will never reach organic and inorganic levels until college. Am I correct?
That is true.
So what they
that's
do in high school is like
basic.
introductory.
Yes, very
Okay,
basic. Yes, those
okay.
are specified areas: inorganic, organic, physical.
Who do you
um,
advise to take chemistry? The student who's interested in what field of endeavor?
I think all students should take chemistry, just to be honest.
Or you're biased?
And not because I know you're going to say that, but I think all students should take chemistry just to see what it's like. You have to take English, you have to take geography, you have to take all these other
I
courses.
thought you have to take math, but you don't have to
You have to take math.
Right, that's what I thought. Okay.
But you should also take chemistry. I think all students, even if you don't desire to be a doctor, I think you should at least know something about every subject. That's my point. I think every subject should be touched on.
So you're an African American female,
I am.
and there's a new statistic that came out from the STEM, which means science, technology, engineering, and math, that 18% of African American students scored above proficiency levels in the STEM assessment, while in America, while 56% of Caucasian students scored proficiently.
That's right.
So are we in the African American community, and this is, my viewership is across the board, but I want to just challenge this stereotype, because Dr. Gardner is a prime example of somebody who decided to break the odds and cross the line and go against the grain. She's one of the 18% who are proficient in STEM. So the question is, why do we see less African American interest among students in the sciences, the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math?
I would say because of the lack of exposure. So if you go to schools that are predominantly black schools, there is a low amount of funding. Some students may not have books. Some schools may not have books. So they're definitely not going to have labs. But then you may go to a predominantly white institution that has all these resources, that has science fairs, it has all these different things that the students can get into. And they have, as you can see, a higher percentage of white students going into the STEM areas. So I really believe it's more so of exposure. And I am a privileged to have exposure, to be honest. When I was in elementary school, I had exposure. My parents were in the sciences. So, they pushed us to do different things in different areas. That was my privilege, however. But everyone doesn't have that same privilege. And if your parents or your background is not in science, you may not have that push to even explore in that area.
So your environment makes a difference.
I do believe that. I do believe that. Now, in fact, you said I was a part of the 18%. I am also a part of 1%. I am 1% of African American female in chemistry. Many of us don't with a PhD. I'm a 1%er as well. So it's a very small pool of individuals that go into these areas because these are predominantly male dominated areas that we see. So I hope that I am helping in whatever way I can to expose students more to chemistry, into the sciences, into engineering, mathematics, technology, all STEM, because that's where we're headed. If COVID, you see a lot of us. We're doing a lot of things in technology now. Even before COVID, we were, but even now, all meetings are on telehealth. We're doing those things, Teams. Zoom, we're doing all those types of things. So students who don't have those type of resources, they're left behind, and I believe that's why those numbers are so low. Lack of exposure.
Really? Wow. So I know less than 3. I thought it was about less than 3% of Americans have a PhD. I think.
That's very true.
Okay.
Yes, very
so obviously,
true.
when you talk about the African American female with a PhD, it's even smaller.
It's even smaller pool. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Talking about the United States in general, there was a study that did an international math and science assessment, and they found that U.S. students ranked around the middle of the pack, behind many other advanced nations. Basically, America was among the 35 members of the Organization of Economic Developed Countries. America ranked 30th in math and 19th in science.
Okay.
For a country that spends so much on education, while we're still 30 out of 35 in science, in math, and 19th out of 35 in science in the United States of America amongst the developed countries. I'm not talking about the African American now, we've talked about that, but as a whole, the country seems to be, I mean, if you look at the number, we are behind. I think number 1 was Singapore, then you had Switzerland, you had Finland, but America was behind countries like Poland.
Okay. Yes.
I mean, I think we were behind countries like Uzbekistan, something like either Uzbek or Uzbekistan. And, those are shocking details for a country with the resources America has. So, as a professor of chemistry, what's your input on that? How are we failing our children, if I may say that, by not making them proficient?
Well, I'm going to say this statement, and I know that our teachers are doing the very best that they can with what they have. Okay. However, in the way our system is set up, we teach students toward a test, and that means, for example, you have the ACT, you have these important tests for the students, and they have to pass these tests, and not just the ACT, but the tests they take while they're in high school. The teachers are asked to teach them toward that particular test, okay? And it takes away the pertinent information they need to be proficient learners, because teaching someone toward a test makes them proficient for that particular test, but it doesn't make them proficient in what they're learning in that particular class. There's a difference.
Right.
There's a big difference. So the way I came up, we weren't taught toward tests. We were taught knowledge of how to navigate in this critical thinking realm. And a lot of students are not taught that anymore. They're taught, once again, just how to pass the test. And even with my students, they ask me all the time, tell me what I need to know to pass this test. I can never tell them that, because once again, chemistry is conceptual. It is not memorize this, know these vocabulary words.
Formulas.
Yes, no. You need to know your formulas. Yes, know your formulas. But memorizing certain things is not how you do anything in chemistry per se. So I'm going to answer that question with our students are being taught to know how to take a test, a particular test, and proficiency in their understanding and being a good learner, being a star performer in the classes is lacking.
Interesting. Now, other disciplines have a perspective of chemistry that it's difficult, and
Hmm.
do you think do you think that paranoia has contributed to the phobia? I mean, because your biology teacher tells you this is difficult, make sure you study this hard, and so the people come into chemistry with that phobia
Hmm.
already in place.
Well,
I mean, I've never heard anybody tell me, "Oh, it's a wonderful
hmm,
subject. You will enjoy
no one has ever
chemistry."
told you that.
I mean, they didn't tell me that when I
Ah,
was in medical school. They just said, "Be careful. It's a tough. It's the hardest course. It's this."
yeah.
So I don't know if in the other sciences
Hmm.
we are pushing chemistry. It's not just chemistry too, physics, I guess, making them kind of high up there,
Hmm.
elusive,
Okay.
harder to.
Well, people just, it's like a word of mouth type of thing. If I tell you that the restaurant down the street is good, you're going to go and try it. But if I tell you that, oh, the food is disgusting, don't go, you probably wouldn't go. It's the same thing with, us. We talk to each other about certain experiences. Oh, I had a hard time in chemistry. You're going to have a hard time too. So it's more so of just we as people, we go off of other people's experiences, especially if it's something that we shouldn't do. Even before we even try it, taste it, we always go off of someone else's experience. That happens in every area. So it could be a professor, it could be another student, it could be a parent, it could be, whatever. But a lot of people have a hard time with chemistry. And in fact, I had a difficult time with chemistry. But I was crazy enough, call me crazy, to meet the challenge. Was not doing well in chemistry when I first began school. It was one of the hardest subjects I had taken. I took chemistry in high school, but it wasn't as difficult as it was in college. So I buckled down. I made sure that I think I failed the first test, and I was heartbroken. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I've never felt anything before in my life. First chemistry test I ever failed, but I buckled down and I studied until I could get that chemistry. And my major was chemistry, so I wanted to make
Oh,
sure
wow.
that I did well in my chemistry classes.
But your major was not chemistry in the first
It
undergrad,
was
right?
it was chemistry. No, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. I was
Oh,
undecided at first.
okay.
I was undecided. And then when I took my first chemistry course and I failed that first test, I decided I'm going to major in chemistry. I'm going to definitely master this. This is a challenge. I love challenges. So I thought
Mm.
chemistry was one of my greatest
Help me
challenges.
talk to that high school student who's about to apply for college,
Hmm.
and they're hearing all this stuff about chemistry. Talk to them about your your experience and why you think they should not dodge the bullet. Because
Yeah.
I still think you need chemistry to be an engineer, to be a medical doctor,
You
to
do?
be a um, maybe industrial chemist.
Yes.
But there could be more fields that require chemistry.
There are more fields that
I don't
require
know if
chemistry.
nurses and
Nurses as well.
they need
Yes.
chemistry.
Yes. Every all
Physical
those areas.
therapy,
All of those need chemistry. Yes.
okay.
So,
Geology.
geology, yes, yes, yes. I was in school with a few geologists, and they were in my chemistry class. So taking chemistry, you can do a wide range of things. It's not just one thing you can do. I chose the profession that I'm in to teach people like you. I wanted to make sure that the information was getting across properly so that you had a good understanding. I didn't have all the greatest teachers in the world every time, but what I did have, I took the good information and I made sure that I understood it, made sure that I could reproduce it. So don't shy away from chemistry. Chemistry is a great subject and it can take you far, and you can do anything with it. That's really the greatest part of chemistry. You can do anything with it. You can be a dentist, you can be a doctor, a teacher, a geologist. You can be an engineer. You can do whatever you desire to do. It's simply a stepping stone to go to your wildest dreams.
Excellent. What do you say to that young boy who says, I was not born to be a scientist, and my environment was on the wrong side of the tracks. I have a very difficult childhood, and they basically, I don't want to use the word, but they make excuses
Mm-hmm.
for not fulfilling their dream. He knows he could become something, but he doesn't want to challenge himself to that extent. So my question to you is this: do you think lack of interest in chemistry is genetic, or it's just environmental? Is there any, let me use the word carefully here, but are we going to say that you cannot do chemistry if you don't have the genealogy of scientists? Because that's what some people say. Oh, my
No,
dad was a businessman, my mom was a arts teacher. It's just not in my family line.
I
I,
cannot say that. No. My parents, they were medical technologists, but they wanted me to do something in toxicology. And I didn't want to. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to make a difference in people's lives. And that's why I chose my profession. But I don't believe that the excuse of my mom or my dad or my grandma or my aunt or whomever is raising you at this time has anything to do with your decision on what you decide to do. It's your choice. It's your life. It's how you desire to live. I could have had all the excuses in the world to not be where I am today. I am the first in my family to have a doctorate degree, just period, on both sides of the family. Um, so I could have made an excuse with, well, no one. I've never seen anyone do this, but I didn't make that excuse. I pushed forward because I knew that there was something for me to do. So you have to know what your purpose is and find that thing. And what are you good at? What do you and even if you're not good at it, keep pushing until you are. So I don't think that's an excuse at all. Like you said, it's definitely an excuse.
okay.
It's not a viable one, but it is an excuse.
So Dr. Gardner has been involved in a lot of initiatives to help increase the African American participation in STEM. So you want to share with us a few of those
Well,
initiatives?
sure, sure. Well, at the college that I am employed, I do a lot of grant work where we write grants for students who are in rural areas to be more involved in the STEM areas. So I am a co-principal investigator, meaning I pretty much determine the day-to-day operations of the grants for STEM, all STEM, mostly all STEM grants on our campus. These are great programs for our students. We do summer programs to help students to get engaged in the STEM area. So as I was speaking of earlier, Dr. Moma, when it comes to exposure, that's one big thing that we are concerned about, making sure that our students have the exposure they need to just see just all different types of STEM related activities that may not get in high school. So that's pretty much what I do from day to day. And I teach chemistry and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I do enjoy, for the most part, what I do to help get the word out about STEM and that you can do STEM. So that's pretty much
And
what
you
I do.
had something you did with NASA recently, and you all, I think, somewhere.
Yes.
I don't know if it's a
So
secret project, but yeah.
this is not a secret project. I am a NASA faculty fellow, and pretty much I did research with A2R research at NASA in the Michoud Assembly Facility. I'm still in contact with them pretty much every day, but we were trying to determine what issues there were with certain systems that were going into outer space. And we found, I can't talk a whole lot about what we found, but
Right.
we did find what the issues were. It was a great program. And that program spurred into, I was asked if I was interested in getting students involved as well, because I was the only one. So now we have our students involved in a program called NCOS, and it pretty much helps our students to get exposed to NASA and what NASA is desiring in the workforce, and pretty much helping them to see what is needed and what they can offer. And a lot of students are having a great time in that program, so it's
So
awesome.
do you subscribe to the fact, as we round up, that students go into a field if they see somebody like them, skin color,
Yes,
sex,
yes, yes,
background?
most definitely.
How do you what makes you
Representation
think that?
matters.
Okay.
Representation matters. So trying to find, building this program that we have, this NCOS program, trying to find an all black crew just to talk to our students, because most of our students are black, really did help them to see, okay, well, if he could do it, I can too. Or if she can do it, I can as well. So, it was very difficult to do this, but we were able to find, and once we told people what we're desiring, they were able to help us. But now we have so many people who know that they can do it because they saw someone else do it. Because that's how our culture is. If mom didn't do it, then I probably can't. But that's absolutely not true. We have to make the difference in what we do. We have to make those differences. We have to show the students out there, or the little Dr. Momas out there and the little Dr. Gardners out there,
Right.
that you can achieve whatever you desire to do.
Awesome. Dr. Gardner is going to be with us again next week. We're going to continue this show. She's going to be talking about her journey through high school, her journey through college, her family, and her faith as well. I just think it's something that each and every one of us can connect with. And she's under 40. I don't want to reveal her age, but the fact that she could achieve how much she's achieved in this short a space of time is what I consider an inspiration and a motivation for all of us out there in the African American community to pursue education, pursue virtue, pursue the will of God for our lives. Don't settle for the crumbs, settle for being at the table. Somebody once said, if you're not at the table, you will most likely be on the menu. So I think we can make a difference in our community by challenging the stereotype. 70% of children in the state of Louisiana and Texas, I don't know about Mississippi, do not, 70% graduate with a high school degree, 30% do not. And that's an astounding number. And I think we can improve that number. We can leave school with a high school degree, with high school diploma, and we can even pursue other things outside college, outside high school. So I want to see you back on the show next week. We're talking about cracking chemistry. You can crack chemistry. You can become that person you dream of becoming. A doctor, a physical therapist, educator like Dr. Gardner. It's not beyond reach. Don't forget, with God, all things are possible. That's what we're talking about on this show. I'm an example of the possibilities of God. Came across 12,000 miles, and I'm practicing in the United States. Dr. Gardner came across from Georgia, and she's practicing in Mississippi as the head of the Department of Chemistry. Your dream is not dead. It can become alive, but you've got to pick up the gauntlet and run with it. So look forward to seeing you here next time. Don't forget, this is Dr. Toby Moma telling you that Jesus loves you. Join us at our Holy Ghost Night every last Friday of the month. July 31st, we'll be back here in Monroe at the Oyo Hotel on Martin Luther King. Look forward to seeing you 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. God bless you. Jesus is Lord. Amen.